Hello. One more video from the 3.24 era, I guess, before we get into 4.0. This one kind of talks a little bit about kind of what you can do. So I loaded up my Ursa Rover, my Dragonfly, and I put my Pisces in my Carrack to go off to Daymar and just kind of cruise around, have some fun exploring a bit of the planet. So there are still a couple of issues that I think need to be addressed. First, the main cargo ramp on any ship needs to be able to actually adjust to where ground level is. This is a fairly simple mechanic to fix within reason, but I had to fly the ship around for about an extra 30-40 seconds to find the right hill to stuff the ramp down into so that I could actually get out of the ship, but that's a minor annoyance. Being able to fly the ship out, land it, hop in my Rover, and go for a drive is something I've never properly been able to experience in the game, just because it's always been so broken or buggy and things like that. But this was really fun. I spent about 30 minutes just cruising around this area in my Rover. The Rover's got a good amount of speed to it. It's easy to control. It's fun. I like the weapons. I like that you have some cargo capacity, you can carry people. There's just so much that you can do with this Rover, and it was such a fun thing to do. And it opens up a lot of neat things for different aspects of gameplay, where if you come in kind of stealthy and underpowered, you can hide in the distance, drop your Rover, and kind of drive in somewhere, though it may be kind of conspicuous. But I thought it was really fun. I didn't find any caves on this one, though I was out looking for them because I wanted to check a cave out. I didn't have a multi-tool or anything to do any ground mining with, but I just wanted to cruise around, explore, see what I could find. I found some pretty good deposits of stuff on the ground, but I didn't really do anything with it. Just, again, fun stuff to be able to come around and look at. The vegetation on Daymar, the atmospherics, everything was really good. I had a pretty good frame rate down here. My typical Shubin mining facility was overrun with derelict ships that never got reclaimed by the system, but hey. I didn't go too far in the Rover before I went back and switched to my Dragonfly. And then in the Dragonfly, I ramped up the speed and flew a lot farther away. I had some issues with this one being slightly bugged. I know they changed the functionality of it because you used to have two flight modes where like those lifting pods would go out and farther away for closer to the ground movement, and then they would kind of tuck in for high speed, slightly higher altitude flight. Couldn't really get that to work. I believe they did away with that flight mode, and I could hit my spacebar to kind of go vertically up a little bit, but only really after going off of a bit of a jump or something, or going off of an upward facing ground. Weapons didn't work. A couple other things I couldn't adjust the speed properly, but again, this thing was really fun. It's very maneuverable. It's reasonably fast. I couldn't adjust the speed to go at its maximum speed for some reason. It listed a maximum speed that I just couldn't even get close to, unfortunately. And it felt a lot slower than it did in the past. But overall, it was a ton of fun. I got to see a lot of different stuff, and it was a very different perspective than it was on the Rover, whizzing over the surface on this, watching Orizon set in the distance. And it was just a great way to skim along and view the planet. This one was kind of fun to do from a third-person view, to kind of see as I'm cruising along and the way it kind of adjusts to the terrain and bumps and moves along with it. So this was fun. This was really good fun to fly around on. I did get off and look at a couple sites. Again, I didn't find any caves, unfortunately, but it was really awesome to just cruise around and be able to explore. Look at things. Another great way to go a good distance and see different aspects of it when you park your ship. But there are some issues in parking your ship, which we'll get to in a minute. I cruised around for about another 15-20 minutes in this. I went in different directions and just kind of messed with the controlling it and flying around and looking at different levels of things. Bit of a windstorm blew in and some dust kicked up, but outside of that, it was a ton of fun. When I got back to my ship, though, randomly, I was finally able to control the throttle, so I was able to slow down enough to get in the ship without ramming the back of it and blowing up. But it was also nice to be able to lower the ship closer to the ground And you can see I was able to kind of hunker it down and go nice and slow up the ramp to make it an easy controlled park. I don't know why my Rover is doing a happy dance right now, like a puppy dog ready to get a bone or something. But it just was glitched and kind of bouncing around having a good time. I thought it was kind of funny. Now, I could have brought my M85, but the Pisces was designed for this ship and I wanted to check it out and have some fun with it anyway. So I opened the deck door and I took off. I was going to land on top of the ship to try and close the bay because I didn't want to leave my ship totally open. Unfortunately, this is one of the first things that I think they should change with the Carrack. I don't mind these doors in the corner, but I think the entire landing pad in the four corners or areas, they should put some cogs, and the pad should have a wheel on it that just crawls it slowly up to the top of the ship. So almost to the top, maybe just below the door. And then in the upper airlock where you have the doors that walk out onto the top of the ship and this pad, you should then get in and out of your ship from up there. You should also have the ability to get the doors open and to raise and lower the pad from up there too, since the airlock's up there. So you would be able to walk out of your ship, the pad's all the way up, you've locked your ship, nobody can just walk right into it. You can seal it and then fly off. That would just make a lot more sense to me. Now, flying this thing around, I went into the, as you can see, the quantum speed boost here, and I just blitzed across the surface. This thing was so fun to cruise around with, decently maneuverable. It was a great little surface ship. I flew back to the mining facility here in a minute. Accidentally kind of went too fast and got distracted looking at how cool the surface was, and zipped right past it, had to turn around and fly back to it. But in doing so, I ran into a major problem that currently exists in that if you go too far away from anything, if you don't have a marker or something marked on it, you can't see it. And when you go too far away, it's gone forever. So my ship should always have a marker. I should be able to always see my ship if I've left it. It should always be available on the HUD, or at least a toggle for me to see it on the HUD. If I'm out of immediate scanning range, it should still show up on my map. I may not be close enough to see the current status of it, but I should be able to find where I parked the damn thing. Now, I wasn't too terribly concerned here when I lost it because I knew that I had gone to Shubin. I knew where I had kind of aligned myself to the pads, looking at all the derelict ships that were going to fly through here in a minute. And I knew the general direction that I had flown. I'd flown in a straight line one way. I didn't take a lot of note with it, but I kind of recognized some of the terrain. I knew roughly where I was, so I wasn't too terribly concerned about finding my ship. It did take me 25 minutes to find my ship because this thing goes really fast and the Carrack does not. So it took me a minute to work out exactly where I'd located, where I'd parked, and relocate my ship. You see me pinging away here trying to get a hit on it because I thought I could see the Shubin facility from my Carrack, so I thought I'd be able to see my ship again by now, but I couldn't. I was just a bit too far away. I'd gone about 20 kilometers away from Shubin when I landed, and yeah. So here I am flying in what I thought was the right direction. It wasn't. I was still having fun exploring the planet. Again, I knew I'd find the ship. I just knew it would take me a little while, so I had to set up kind of a search pattern and zigzag my way back and forth until I found it. And eventually I went way up high, which we'll see here in a minute. But I also got distracted by some of the scenery because these mountains, again, just the varied terrain, being able to just see these things and land and walk around and all that's amazing. Be awesome to find little things here. I remember in one of the older versions going out to the crashed spaceship. That was so fun. I did that so much just because it just felt so realistic and fun to be able to explore a planet. And that's really the main reason I got into this game and why I bought the ships that I bought, because I want to be able to just go explore random unknown planets and find things, map it, sell it. That was what sold me the game. The first ship I bought was the 315P to go off and explore, map jump points, go off into the unknown, and I think that's so fun. And the Carrack, when it came out, being billed as the Enterprise type of ship, being able to full service medical bay, respawning, repair, refueling small ships like this, just wonderful. Like, this little ship could go off and resupply the big guy. So I just think that's really fun. You can see how high up I came to try and get my bearings on where Shubin was, and then looking at the terrain where I'd been driving around, and then I went, yeah, I was over here somewhere. So I started heading this way a little bit. I didn't want to stay external too long because I needed to be able to see inside, but again, it was just so fun. And it really brought back a lot of memories when 3.0 launched and you finally could come down into the planets and you had the atmospheric effects and stuff like that. This was a return leg on one of my zigzags, and then I finally get close enough to spot my ship here in a moment. That ping on my left was an abandoned ship off in the middle of nowhere. I think it was a Freelancer Max or a Freelancer Dur, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, hey, there I am, and there was Shubin off to my left. So I was able to find my ship again 20 minutes later. And it was fun to come up on the approach and get into the ship. But again, I really wish that I really hope that they adjust aspects of the ship, because I think upstairs in the upper airlock where you overlook the bay, you need to be able to raise that bay. It doesn't need to be a hydraulic lift. It's not lifting a big old ship. The platform's rigid enough that if you put cogs in the four sides of it, it should just be able to lift, roll itself up to the top of the ship. The bay doors, it can stop just below that. That's only, 2 feet? That's easy to climb up and down, no big deal. And that should be how you get in and out. It's cool if you still keep the internal doors, and if you put people in it there, fine, who cares? But the bottom to me would be like maintenance, loading the ship with cargo, things like that. And as you saw in the prior video, we need to be able to lock those doors open so you can bring the cargo in and out and load your ship. So it almost seems like the big glass panel now where you open and close the doors towards the front of the ship should be a slightly larger door where you would park this ship backwards and open the bay and be able to load it with cargo. And then if you choose to, you can raise it up. Like in this case, we're going on a quote-unquote away mission. Why would I want to leave my main bay open? Right now, the only way for me to deal with this is to land this ship next to the big ship, lower the main ramp, go all the way through the ship back up to the third deck, close the bay door, turn around, go all the way back down, close the ramp, get back in this ship, then take it. It's just a waste of time. I mean, we have this upper airlock where you have spacesuits, gear, you can store all this stuff. So make the bay go up. I should be able to land on top of my ship here and then just get out and walk around in behind me. But it was really fun. I enjoyed this a lot, and on my return journey, I actually pulled into the, I forget that orbiting station. I just want to call it Port Olazar because that's what's always been there, but hey, I still remember doing all the Tressa missions. But I pulled in out by that station and kind of repeated this thing in space, and it was a ton of fun to fly around the ship. And if the bay doors are open, to me, I think it would be awesome if you could set up some landing lights on top or illuminate the bay a little better when you get close enough and you're flying in a ship that left that ship. So like if I landed my Pisces inside the Carrack and then I took it off, then that's what should happen. Now in this case, I did not fly too far away because I knew I would never find the Carrack again out here in space. On two-dimensional ground, it was a lot easier, but in space, no, I'd never find this ship out there, unfortunately. And that's, again, why I think you should always be able to get back to where you were. You should know where you parked and be able to find it. And if your ship is up and transmitting, then sure, you should be able to get updated telemetry from where it is. If the ship's in orbit or continuing to fly off somewhere, I should be able to easily find it and get back to it. Now, I should be able to turn that off if my ship is like abandoned or destroyed, then sure, I should get its last known location, and I should be able to figure it out from there. Now, I made my approach here from the rear, and you can see that the engines and kind of the hull lights kind of make an approach alignment here for me to fly in. But once you get over the bay, I think it should be a lot more illuminative about what's going on. It's good in the lighting that's in there, but I'm talking like on the upper sides, it should be green, red, and those lights should toggle like when you're approaching an aircraft carrier or something to get in and out, but whatever. This was an absolute ton of fun, and I really cannot wait to go off and explore new systems and new parts of space with this. I don't think I'm going to go to Pyro for a little while because from what I've seen in Spectrum, there are a ridiculous amount of griefers out there. With the flight model being completely gimped, all these big ships are getting destroyed, rammed, and stolen simply because you can't fly away. They've ruined the flight model with master modes and all this other stuff, but oh my gosh, this was so fun and really, really made me want to come back and play the game so much more because this is what I bought it for, just to cruise around in space. And now being able to load up my ship and go do this. The only thing I can't do right now is really stock my ship with food and water. Outside of that, I can respawn here, I can log in and out. It's great. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.